My name is Amir Danino. I'm the founder and CEO of Innoventric. Innoventric is a company dedicated to developing a tricuspid regurgitation solution, a transcatheter solution for tricuspid regurgitation. The company was founded in 2017. So I've been in the medical device industry for the past 20 years, the vast majority of it in transcatheter heart solutions, mainly valves. And I watched the development, the amazing development of transcatheter valves across the past 2 decades. But something bothered me about the way that mitral and tricuspid solutions were being implemented. There was a huge success 20 years ago with a technology called TAVR. It's a huge clinical and commercial success. It's a replacement of the aortic valve in a transcatheter means. This huge success was tried to be copy and pasted into the mitral and tricuspid spaces, but there's a huge difference between the mitral and tricuspid valve and the aortic valve. So it took 20 years. Up till last year, there were 0 devices on the market, even though dozens of companies and billions of dollars were poured into trying to find this solution. And this struck me as something that needed a different approach. So in Innoventric, we developed a solution that brings back simplicity. And the main things that worked for TAVR are also implemented into our technology, mainly simplicity of the technology, the ease of use for the physician. It's not only a pro-patient solution, it's also a pro-physician solution. And that's really important because in the past 2 decades, there has been increasing complexity of technologies manufactured by engineers, and we kind of forgot about the user. And the user is not the patient. The user is the physician that has to implant these devices. And we wanted to make it simpler, we wanted to make it more reliable, and we wanted to make it eligible for or something that all patients can get treated with. For many, many, many years, tricuspid regurgitation had only 2 options. Either you treat the patient with diuretics, medication that's probably what most of the patients are treated with. It does not solve tricuspid regurgitation. It only takes off some fluid and it alleviates the symptoms, but the disease progresses. The second solution, which does address tricuspid regurgitation and the tricuspid valve, is open heart surgery. But these patients are frail, have many comorbidities, and this is why the vast majority of these patients are not eligible for open heart surgery. That was, up until last year, the only 2 solutions. In 2024, 2 transcatheter technologies were approved by the FDA to treat tricuspid regurgitation. One is a repair technology, and the other one is a valve replacement technology. However, these technologies are fairly complex. They take a little bit of a learning curve. They take a lot of time to implement and to implant. And the patients that can get treated with these technologies are not the majority of patients. Again, we're still left with the vast majority of patients not treated with any of these 2 transcatheter technologies. Recent papers from last year show that these 2 technologies are able to cover anything, both of them together are able to cover anything between 40 to 60% of the patient population, leaving the majority of the patients still untreated. So there are 500,000 patients in Europe and the US annually suffering from severe tricuspid regurgitation. It's a life-threatening disease. It's debilitating. Patients feel very bad. So these patients need to be treated, and many attempts are made to treat them. However, open heart surgery is out of the question for 99% of that patient population. And the efforts that I mentioned, the efforts that are being made and were being made to develop a transcatheter solution for that have gone a little bit too far with the complexity, the duration of the procedure. So we wanted to bring something simple to the table. We approach this in a very different manner than all the devices. So if you have tricuspid regurgitation, then you have to tackle the tricuspid valve in order to fix it. That makes sense. Well, not necessarily, because what we're doing is actually adding a valve, a fifth valve, to the heart, and not replacing the leaky valve, the tricuspid valve. So we're basically coming in a transfemoral approach like most of the other technologies. That means we go through the groin into the vein, and we go all the way up into the heart through the vein. But unlike other devices, we're not going into the tricuspid valve with all of its complex anatomy. We're just going straight forward. There are big veins called the vena cavas, and these vena cavas are perfect for anchoring a stent, a device, and that is where we anchor our device. It results in a 5-minute procedure. That's the average. We've done over 50 cases so far, and the average implantation time, device time, is 5 minutes. The total skin-to-skin time is 20 minutes. That's a totally different story than other technologies, which require 2-3 hours, sometimes even 4 and 5 hours for repairing the leaky valve or replacing the leaky valve. And the result is that we don't have to actually deal with everything happening on the tricuspid valve. Like, it could be very large, it could be ununiform, it could have previous technologies that were implanted on it and did not work. So all of that we can just ignore and put a fifth valve in the vena cavas, and that results in a 5-minute procedure and full recovery of, or full abolition of, the backflow into the vena cavas. So basically, the tricuspid valve is situated between the right ventricle and the right atrium. The tricuspid valve is actually, or the annulus, the ring that surrounds it, is actually part of the right ventricle. Now, we know that ventricles contract and relax within every heartbeat. So we get contraction, relaxation, once per second, 60 times per minute. And that makes it very difficult to anchor a device on such a moving target. So there's fixation issues, there's leaking issues, and we're ignoring that. So what we're doing is we're just going into a vessel which is round, which is circular, symmetrical. We just go through with a stent, which is as big as the vena cavas, and we just go straight forward. No need to do something on the beating heart, and we place the valve there. So that resolves many of the difficulties. So anything between very simple, we love it, to, hey, even a monkey can do that. So that's something that we heard from many physicians. It's very simple. They feel comfortable in doing that. The results, even on the table, are amazing. We see full abolition of the backflow into the venous system. So that's something that you can see on the bed. Immediate reduction in venous pressures, and all the deleterious effects of tricuspid regurgitation are taken away seconds post-implantation. And I think that the one thing that physicians appreciate the most is the ability to treat the patients that have been denied surgery, that where medication no longer works, and where they have been found ineligible for other technologies, transcatheter technologies. So they feel very bad about not being able to treat a patient, and then we come in and they can treat even patients that have been denied all other options. We have completed a first-in-human study with our technology in Europe, 20 patients. Data has been published already, and we are now in an early feasibility study in the United States, approved by the FDA. It's run here in the US and in Germany. And in addition to that, we've done many compassionate use cases. As I mentioned, I've been in the medical device industry for 20 years, and never have I got phone calls from physicians asking me to bring the technology to them for their patients. So we get weekly calls, weekly emails from physicians which we don't know, that ask us to bring the technology and treat a patient that is otherwise not treatable with any other technology. So that's where we are, clinical stage. just before reaching a pivotal study in the US. So completion of the early feasibility study is definitely what we are currently working on, and I believe that we will achieve this by the end of the year. Um, Immediately after that, we intend to file for an IDE approval for a pivotal study in the United States and Europe to take this technology and bring it to the market. Treating all the patient population and allowing all patients to be treated is the main thing, is the goal which we started with and we still hold as something that really leads the way for us. And also making the procedure and making the work of the physician a little bit simpler, a little bit more reliable. These are the things that we bring for patients and for physicians.